Anthony Gordon is another player they're keen on. They've seen a £40 million bid rejected already. We expect them to make a new bid soon. Let's hear from Frank Lampard on Gordon's future.
He's our player. Everyone knows his interest from Chelsea. It's very public now, but he's our player. As simple as that. The reason he's on the bench, he had a bit of an issue with his heel after the game against Forest, and just kept him out of it completely unless he was absolutely needed tonight. I didn't feel he was.
Reports today suggesting that he's asked to leave. Is that correct?
I'm never going to go into conversations between what me and Anthony have. We've got a good relationship, and I won't even go there.
But you need a quick resolution to this, yes?
Yeah, ideally, or carry on. He's our player, so that's what it is.
Right, OK, so the fee we were reporting yesterday, Dan, was that he can... Chelsea are willing to go up to £60 million for Anthony Gordon. What do you think of that fee?
It's amazing how many players have injuries, isn't it, around the transfer window? Just as there's a big rumour about them, players have these injuries and don't play. This is the most bizarre move of the transfer window. I was talking to Anton earlier. I can't understand it from either party. I don't think he massively improves Chelsea. I don't think he's the kind of upgrade that they need at the moment. Chelsea need some kind of productivity in that front three at the moment, and I don't really think Anthony Gordon provides that. We're not sure how high Anthony Gordon's ceiling is at the moment. He's done well for Everton, but I delved onto Twitter this morning and asked the Everton fans what they thought using our transfer talk hashtag, and I was actually surprised by the reaction. A lot of them seem very, very happy for him to go, especially for the money that's been mentioned. I thought they might feel a bit let down. A local boy who's only played a year of first-team football, perhaps expressing an interest that he'd like to go and join Chelsea. I thought they'd feel let down, but they seem like they'd be quite happy to take the money and reinvest elsewhere. If Everton can get the right fee, which, you know, they've got every chance that they'll be able to, Everton fans sound like they'll be happy with that because they're just desperate for a forward. But I just think they've got to try and use this to their advantage, Everton. If they can go and get someone like Broja in part exchange, even if it's on loan for a year, they need a striker. They're desperate for a striker. They're crying out for one. So I think Everton need to work smart here and use it to their advantage, perhaps with players coming in exchange and the fee in general. Because
going back to that fee, Anton, I'm sure Frank Lampard would claim that he is worth that to Everton.
Yeah, and I think, not on this programme, but I think there has been a little bit of kind of sneering towards this deal. You know, oh, is he worth it? Oh, you know, what's he going to do? Well, look, he's a young player and he's contributed a lot at Everton. You know, look at what he's contributed over the last season. You know, look, the number of sprints he's done, top of the team. He puts the ball in the box nearly as much as anybody else. He shoots more pretty much than rather than one play. Like he's contributing so much on the field. He's important to what Everton did last season and are trying to do this season. So yeah, we don't know what Everton are going to be like this season. We don't know whether they're going to be mid-table or that they're going to be struggling further down. So you can't take the risk potentially of selling a player, you know, unless you can get absolute maximum value for him, and that's what Everton are fully entitled to do. They've gotten this player like the number 10 jersey. He was integral to what they're trying to achieve this season. And now, just over a week before the window closes, they're having to tear that up if they do decide to cash in on him and try and find another forward line that might work. And they've been trying to obviously replace Richarlison. So it's a case of I can see Everton's point, which is, look, he's worth this much because he's actually important to us. This is what we've been planning for all season.
But if they lose him, the time frames that are left in the transfer window at the moment, they could lose yet another attacking player here. And the way Everton have been over the last few years, I know things have changed behind the scenes slightly with how they do their transfer business. Wouldn't 100% be able to guarantee that they'll be able to draft in replacements or good enough replacements at this point. So actually selling him in terms of numbers is a huge risk because they're already really, really light in the front three positions.
Well, how could Everton spend the money if they did decide to let him go?
Well, so for me, and let me know if I sneer at any point, because I feel like it is one where you probably would take the money. I think that it's probably going up, possibly because he's a homegrown player as well. That might be a bit of a tax on all of this. But actually, when you really strip it back, you've got to replace 4 goals and 2 assists. That's all you've got to replace. And there are a lot of options out there. There's been interest and links and things in the newspapers, not totally sure if it's for certain, but with Trossard, who would be a fantastic signing on the left-hand side, can play in different positions as well.
Brighton to go to Everton,
He's in the final year of his contract. He's got, there is an option for Brighton to extend it. That could quite possibly happen. But again, with 1 year left in his contract, is there a certain amount of money where you get a really good player, in my opinion? Someone who I think you could have a strong debate of if he is better preferred than Gordon, quite possibly. Premier League proven as well. You spoke about Brozier in a loan deal. That does scream out to me. Conor Gallagher as well, who I don't totally think fits where Chelsea are going in terms of their style of play in that middle of midfield. Struggled in the game against Leeds. And then if you have a look in the Championship, there are options there in terms of... Because the other thing I would say is that there are other wide forwards for Everton, but they do not have strikers. And so what's more important here when, again, you're trying to replace 4 goals and 2 assists? In the Championship, you've got... These players are 24, 23, 23. Gyökeres at Coventry, 70 goals, 5 assists. Joel Perrault at Swansea, 22 goals, 6 assists. Brembia Diaz, who I know they've been linked with as well, 22 goals, 3 assists in the final year of his contract. We're going to talk about João Pedro as well. Martin Terrier in France has scored a lot of goals. Moussa Dembele, another striker as well. He's also in the final year of his contract. There are options out there, and you would hope that Everton are kind of looking for a striker regardless. For me, I would... And this is just me, I would take that money and I would reinvest it in players that you think you can grow and will provide the output that is needed, which is 4 goals and 2 assists.